Yeah.
Well, I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm just going to introduce our wonderful guest speaker today. Pretty awesome picture there, Jessica, I must admit. So Jessica is going to talk to us today about how art can transform curiosity into conservation, and why do moths matter more than we actually think. So I'm so proud to have Jessica here. I've known her mother for a long time and worked together at the University of the Sunshine Coast, and she's doing some incredible work in our local area. So welcome, Jessica, and thank you so much for agreeing to come and tell us about your life.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to be here. This is not my usual presentation realm, so I was a little bit nervous about presenting on Zoom, but I think we figured out. So I'm going to see if my screen
Yeah,
share
give it a go.
works.
I'll tell you if it works when you.
It'll be very exciting. Oh, where is it going? This one. Aha. Did it work for you guys?
Something's happening. Yes, well done. You're
Woohoo!
on.
Okay, that was the thing I was most worried about. But it looks like yeah, it's just really wonderful to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really curious now about the sun bears, and I definitely would like to plan a trip to Borneo in the next 2 years, I think. I think that's sort of
Sounds
this is
good. Come with
definitely
me, Jessica.
I will definitely come and check out and visit you, Dr. Wong, in your facility. That sounds brilliant, and I'd love to go with you, Sarah. That'd be fun. So, yeah, and so thanks to everyone who tuned in as well. It's a pretty broad subject, so I'm just going to share a little story, just my little personal story, I guess, and how I got what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, that sort of thing. And yeah, we'll go from there. So, let's see if this works now. Now I'm trying to change the next slide,
Okay.
and
It's
it's
not
not.
changed yet. So did you
It's
try the
not
scroll
changed.
or the arrow, click down arrow?
Now, let's. Oh, here we go.
Here you go.
Okay. Um, yeah. So I guess this is a story of love, because I believe that the root of all conservation basically comes from love, which you get from being curious and learning about something. So my little presentation is just going to be a little bit of background on how I started working with insects. I just use the word bug because it's fun. It's not the scientific word, but it's just more fun to say bug. So working with bugs, then I'm going to talk about what we can learn from bugs, and then how we can help bugs, and then also learning about bugs, and then how that sort of got me down the path of bug art, and back around to just like increasing understanding means you just connect with something so much deeper, which means you're going to want to conserve it and look after it. So I started working with bugs about 9 years ago. I got a job with an organization called Bugs for Bugs, where we bred insects to help with agriculture. And I was really attracted to this space because I believe that it's really important that we cut down on our use of pesticides. And this was a way that I could help in cutting down with pesticides by just breeding and releasing natural crop enemies. So I specialized in this tiny little parasitic wasp that parasitized the whitefly. So I did that for 2 years, and that was sort of my introduction to the world of insects. I guess as a child, I'd always loved insects and bugs and all sorts of things, but this was a chance for me to really get immersed into the amazing, wondrous world. And that led to getting involved with Malula River Land Care. About 7 years ago, a position came up running their biocontrol facility. Whereas in this case, I got to breed insects for the environment, which was really exciting. So I breed two different types of beetles that target two very invasive weed species. So it's wonderful to be a beetle farmer for a good cause. So that just gave me, yeah. So basically, for the last 7 years working there, Not only have I really gotten to know these insects so well and other insects, but it also got me into a space of working with community and citizen science. Mooloolah River Land Care is we have a native nursery, and it was actually started because citizens in the area were worried about water quality of the Mooloolah River and it being affected by erosion and development and all these other pressures. So they started doing testing. So when I joined, I'm like, oh, I want to bring back the water watch thing, mainly because I just wanted to run around and catch bugs. So we set up the water watch program again, and I got to learn all about how we can learn from insects about the health of our environment. So we did macroinvertebrate monitoring. So that's basically a fancy word for little bugs that you can see with your eyes. And these guys live in the water. They're often like the aquatic part of the life cycle of an insect. And depending on what species we find there, it can tell us a lot about the quality and the health of the river system. So we got into that, and I was just blown away with what we can learn from insects just by observing them and seeing what's there. And then obviously because Mooloolah River Land Care is based in a native nursery, we also got to get involved in how we can help a lot of insects. So the best ways that we can help bugs is by planting native plants, not using pesticides, and obviously no brainer, protecting habitats. And insects are so important. I mean, I know probably all of you guys know that, but they are really the base of, the food web. So important for so many different species. And, if we don't have them, we have a very different looking world. So, and while working for land care, I got to get involved with a lot of citizen science stuff. So I got really behind I don't know if, does everyone use iNaturalist?
Definitely me.
Yep, wonderful. Yeah, I could do a whole thing on, I love iNaturalist, just because it is basically made citizen science accessible to anyone with a mobile phone, which is a lot of people in the world these days. Like most people, you go in the middle of Africa and you find everyone's got a mobile phone. So this is something, it's a free program that anyone can use and collect data on their local biodiversity. So I got really into that. And then we set up the big butterfly count and all sorts of things. Basically, just wanted to raise the profile and the importance of insects and really share that with other people. Because back again, the more you learn, the more you love, the more you want to protect. And then I I just decided to, since I had this wonderful tool, iNaturalist, I thought I would set up a backyard, do a backyard bug study. And I decided to focus on night creatures, mostly moths. So in March of 2023, in the evening of a black moon, I like to call it a black moon other than a new moon because it sounds a little bit more exciting. I hung up a sheet between two poles and positioned a UV torch on a chair and just sat back to see what came to the light. And this nerdy little nature activity ended up turning into a full-blown obsession. So I have been observing moths every month on black moonlight since then. So it's about, I don't know, what is that, 4 years now, or 3 years. And in that time, I have recorded 2,518 observations of 718 different species of mostly moths, just in my backyard in this one spot. So that is incredible. And every single month, I find a new species that I've never seen before. But what I love most about this activity is it's something that anyone can do, pretty much. If you can find a little dark spot out the back of your house or, in a nearby park, and you can do this. And it's just incredible because, look at these amazing colors. So while I was doing this, I got very inspired about how beautiful moths are. Um, and very different than people's preconceptions. You know, people think, oh, moth, it's sort of like this little brown thing. We don't know because everyone's asleep when they come out usually. So this led to a journey into, well, I had just around about a year before I started doing my moth light, I started nature journaling. I just find nature journaling is a wonderful way to connect with your natural environment and make these observations. And it's the only journal that I've kept going for 4 years. I actually have multiple journals now because I've actually been filling them up. When I was a child, I was constantly trying to keep a diary, and I would do, you get 3 pages in and I'd lose interest. But once I started actually putting images, this is all about what I explore and see in my nature journeys. So anyway, so I set this um, uh, I guess it was like not a competition, but I set this goal that I was going to go and record 12 months of moths. So every page you can see here is a different month. I recorded the date, the temperature, and then I started also, as I was going, I started realizing things like humidity seemed to be important. So I'd put down the humidity and I would paint whatever came to the lights that month. I did keep it up for a whole year. I don't paint every single moth that comes any longer. I just picked my favorites going forward because it took a long time. But it got into the art, and I noticed that people really loved to see these paintings. I think it's a bit different than sharing a photograph. A painting, there is like a deeper connection. They're not perfect, they're just like my little, you can see the love in the art. So it's kind of a nice way to connect with people. Um, I also just tried to make sense of all my findings. This is just in my spare time. This is just a random little thing on the side. So I started trying to group my moths into the different families and look for connections and seasons and stuff like that. This is probably going to be a lifelong study. I found that also by having to paint or recreate what you're seeing visually, it makes you actually really look at something. So it's a really good practice for deep observation. So yeah, once I've painted something and really looked at it, I remember it. I might not remember the scientific name that comes and goes, but I will be like, oh, when I see that insect, I'll be like, I've painted that one. And I can go and find that much easier. And you just connect to it a lot more. And you're also doing it within their habitat and where they are. I'm very much into exploring what's in my local area, wherever that is. So when I travel around the world, I run around with my butterfly net and I just see what's there. It really connects me to place, to go and explore. And okay, what are the creatures of this area? What's the unique thing here? Who lives here? It's a really great way to learn about where you're at. This is just me having a bit of fun. I call this geometry. This is just moving around photos, getting a bit arty. And then I started making wearable things because I feel like for art it has to be useful. So it can't just, short of writing a book, I thought, well, these are nice little ways of getting out. So I kind of think of them as wearable field guides. So I started putting a lot of these images on tea towels. And then I had this gentleman come up to me one day and he's like, I'm not going to buy a tea towel, but can you put this on a t-shirt? So then that started the whole t-shirt range. So yeah, just exploring the different things. And they're just really good points of, talking points. So it's great. I got this photo sent to me recently of these two people wearing my cicadas of the Sunshine Coast t-shirts. One was 4 and one was 50, and they had found each other at a festival. And they're like, oh, I've got that shirt, and so they sent me a photo of the two of them, and it's just really lovely because people are like, oh wow, I didn't know there's that many different species of cicadas on the Sunshine Coast, and it just gets that conversation going. And they'll be like, the challenge, okay, this summer, how many of those different species can you find? So it's just a way to connect with the environment. Oh, here's a little plug here. Sorry. But yeah, we're having every year. Well, we didn't, pretty much every year, Malula River Land Care for the last 4, 5 years. We have something called the Bug Day Out, which is a big celebration of everything insect. We have entomologists come and share what they're studying, very interactive. So if anyone out there is on the Sunshine Coast or is passing through the Sunshine Coast, um, on June the 6th, which is just is part of the World Environment Day festivities. Definitely pop over to Malula River Land Care. I did put a little QR code, but you can look it up on Malula River Land Care's website or Manatix, but share it later. But and then also I just wanted to extend an invitation as well. I've actually got 1 or 2 listeners on here who have been to our light clubs. Actually, Michelle Painter is one of, she's been to pretty much every light club in the last 3 years, which is wonderful. So that's what I call putting up the light and watching the moths on the black moon. So we do that every black moon. So this next one is the 17th, I believe, and it's a Sunday night. So people can often bring a dish to share. And we go out there and check out the moths. So just extending that invitation out to you lovely people, if anyone's nearby and wants to come and experience that. So that was my little presentation.
Wow,
I don't know, I
well
kind of
done.
covered those aspects, but I'm really happy just to open it up now if anyone's got any questions or thoughts or what they do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That was incredible. What a beautiful journey you've been on, Jessica. It's just really interesting to see, see the steps they've taken you on. So well done. Do you mind not taking off the sharing and then we'll open up to questions? That sounds wonderful. There should be a little green box somewhere on your there we go. Awesome. Magnificent work. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that everyone's got questions, so I'm going to start you off because I've just been writing my next book, and in the next book, which is called Curious Kai Quit School, she actually investigates Christmas tree beetles, and the Christmas tree beetle count is a really interesting thing. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what the problem is with Christmas beetles.
Yeah, well, so Christmas beetles, they're a really iconic beetle in Australia, and they often come out in the middle of summer, which is around Christmas time. So people call them Christmas beetles because of that, because they come out during Christmas. That most of them are eucalypt feeders, so they eat eucalypt trees. So we need sort of our old native forests protected for Christmas beetles. So obviously, like with most things on this planet, the problem is habitat loss, but also the use of pesticides, lawn pesticides, because the larval state of the Christmas beetle is a little grub that does
They're
like
actually underground, aren't they? They're underground during their life.
And quite a few of the species eat sort of like grasses.
Yeah.
So people who use lawn poisons, pesticides to kill the lawn grubs are often killing Christmas beetles. So that's, I think those are the 2 main problems. And why we might be seeing
it's a bit of an issue, isn't it? And that's why there's, iNaturalist has this Christmas beetle.
But I think also people know about Christmas beetles because they have fond memories as children and how many used to come. But it's not just Christmas beetles, and not to go down a dark, deep hole, but it's insects in general. There is a huge drop.
Yeah.
And we can attribute a lot of that to pesticide use and habitat loss, but there's other factors too. And I know through 9 years of breeding insects, they are so susceptible to changes in climate. Like definitely with my beetles, I raise them in fully enclosed, protected enclosures, and yet they know what's going on outside. So they are active and are not active depending on the climatic conditions, even though they don't get rained on and they're fully protected.
Wow, how interesting.
They're very much affected. So I think they can feel barometric pressures, and there's other things we don't understand. So I think Christmas beetles are just one of those, the canary.
Yes,
in
it
lots
is
of
a
cases.
canary, really. Yeah, absolutely. Now we've got a question that leads well on from that, because
Mhm.
Susan wants to know what weeds do the two bugs that you breed target?
Cat's claw creeper and Madeira vine.
Ah, important one. And are all the bugs that you breed native species?
Not those beetles. So with a lot of biocontrol, you have to find the natural predator. So
Mm,
obviously you have to look at where these vines originated to find what has been eating them. I have noticed just within my own facility that some native insects do also eat the vine, but they're usually generalist feeders, whereas my two beetles only eat those particular vines. So the Madeira beetle only eats Madeira. It cannot eat anything else, will not eat anything else. And the cat's claw, the jewel beetle that eats cat's claw, can only eat cat's claw. And both of them, which is quite interesting, the beetles and their larvae, so both parts, like the whole life cycle, only eats that plant. So that's really interesting as
okay.
well, because often that's not the case. Yeah.
We have had a few disasters when it comes to biocontrol in Australia.
Yes. Yes. We've
Obviously the
we've had some great
toads were the
stories
worst
too.
one.
So like, yeah, the
Yeah,
cactoblastis, is often one of our best stories. The cane toad is obviously one of the worst
way
stories,
worse. Yeah, yeah.
and that's to do
So
with people
how
not
do you choose
understanding.
then? How do you
Pardon?
choose, or is there a lot of research that goes into this before you actually choose a species then?
Yes, so the
Yeah,
beetles I breed were chosen by Biosecurity Queensland.
yeah.
They've both been used in the field now for over 15 years, I believe, around 15 years. Very rigorous process to get a new bioagent into the country these days.
Yeah.
So I went and visited the facility. It's a lot of fun. If you ever get a chance to go to the Eco Science Precinct in Brisbane, and
Oh,
go up to where they do their bioagent testing. It's pretty amazing. So you kind of go through this building in the middle of the city, and up the top are these glass greenhouses. And
yeah.
that's where they're breeding all of the plants, your target plants, and then also breeding any native plants that share genetics or similarities with those target plants. And then they introduce their hopeful pest to that, or predator. It's not
Mm.
really a pest in this situation. It's very rare to
No.
have a beneficial insect that's a plant eater. So most of the time
Interesting.
we don't like them, but we do when they're eating the weeds. So I think the whole process takes about 4 years before it's deemed safe, and it might be deemed unsafe within that 4 years. And each year costs about $500,000. So it costs at least $1 million for each experimental bioagent to get tested as just a minimum. So
Well,
these these
that's
these
good
these
though.
two beetles went through that, came out the other side as safe, and they've been used safely in the field ever since. The
Brilliant.
other difference I always like to point out with my beetles is that a lot of our native animals love to eat them and eat them quite healthily and safely.
Good.
So our beetles are not poisonous. That's one of the main problems with the cane toad is that it was poisonous, and it
Mm,
will eat anything it can fit in its mouth.
it
So
will.
a little bit different there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good thing to point out though, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
everyone's a bit scared from that
yeah,
experience
yeah.
you've had.
I have lots of
Yeah.
photos of birds and frogs and spiders and lizards eating my beetles.
Okay, cool.
So I know, unfortunately.
Who else has a question for Jessica?
Yeah.
Jessica, I've got a question.
Mhm.
Back in the early 2000s, I used to work for Greening Australia and I did some weed control in the Malula Valley,
Mhm.
specifically the cat's claw. It was running rampant through
Oh,
parts of the Malula Valley.
okay.
And I remember having to dig out the root systems and to get every little piece out. Now, do the grubs actually go under the surface and kill the roots, or is it sufficient for the bugs to actually just do the aerial parts?
Yeah, so my beetles are a slow burn. They're just something in the environment that eats the leaves. So they don't eat the seeds and they don't eat the tubers. So we still need human intervention. So the beetles are really only used to slow down the spread by defoliating the plants, and just causing them a little bit of stress. So they're definitely just a tool in the toolbox, but they're not a silver bullet, unfortunately. But I would love to chat with you, George, because I'm actually doing a study at the moment on cat's claw in the Malula Valley, and would love to see some of that historical records, because there isn't much of it that we can find at the moment. There's a couple little outbreaks, but there's not much. And so that's one of my little jobs at the moment, is finding outbreaks. So I'd love to go and have a chat with you at some point about that.
Unfortunately, I work in a completely different field now, and it was a long time ago. So, and I was only one of the environmental officers. As far as they called us environmental officers, we were just doing the hack work. So I wasn't involved with any of the research or the planning or anything. They just said, do this.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and I did
Well,
that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, George. David, you've got your hand up.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jessica. That was great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Yep.
hear you.
Oh, great. Thanks. Jessica, I just wanted to mention, I mean, this is amazing stuff. And as you say, and we should realize more how important bugs are. I was lucky enough to be at the Applied Conservation Tech Congress in Hanoi, and Dr. Jenna Lawson from the UK presented on her work, and that's across two areas. She builds camera traps for insects, and her background is audio moth. And also she works on the disparities between research for conservation in the global north and low middle income countries. So if you want, I can share her presentations. I also helped her with a workshop in Kenya in January, but she's building these in low to middle income countries so that people can understand what insects they've got in their country, because no one really cares. I think you mentioned deepest, darkest Africa. No one's interested in visiting those areas and helping local people understand what their wildlife is. So yeah, good work. Keep at it. Please keep at it.
Yeah, and yeah, I'd love to hear that. And because because in all these countries, like, we've got this thing now called the Great Southern BioBlitz, where we kind of focus with other countries in the Southern Hemisphere. So there's a lot of South Africa and areas like that. And they have been amazing with collecting research and data on their local species. So it's a real accessible tool that anyone can use. And I think a lot of local people, no matter what their income level is, I mean, obviously, if you're just trying to survive, you're going to have other priorities, but it's just it's something that everyone can get behind, and people are. So that's been exciting to see the equalizer in in people doing research and finding new species. A lot of people, everyday people, are finding new species every day using that app. So, but yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, please do send that. That'd be great.
And when you discover one, you could call it the Raintree beetle. So.
Oh, you could.
Yay,
You could.
why not?
I won't mind. You're not supposed to name them after yourself, so
Well, we'll find it and then we'll name it after you. How's that?
Yeah. I think Attenborough's going to have he's got the parasitic, that wasp, but I know a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of David
He's
Attenborough.
got a lot named after him, including a boat.
Yeah.
Oh. And Wong, you've got an insect named after you, so you're pretty famous already. Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Wong.
Oh, yes, I said I have a stick insect named after me, Plasmodium sutii. They use my first name instead of my last name, which is very good, because Wong is such a common last name here in Malaysia. No big
There's
deal.
a few too many Wongs, yeah?
I'm going to have to look it up. So that
please do.
It's a stick insect. Yeah. Wonderful.
Stick insect,
that's really cool. Did they find it near your facility?
No, it's somewhere in Sabah. It's just that the entomologist, Dr. Xiao Chen, every time he came, he's a self-taught. He's a colon rectal surgeon. He's a medical doctor, but hobby is stick insect. So every time he come here, cruise around the forest and find a bunch of a few dozens of new species, describe it, and then try to find find names for this, and then recognize everybody that have contributions to the biodiversity in Sabah. And then I'm honored to be named. I mean, use my name for one of the stick insect that he discovered.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
well, if you want to name new species, come to Borneo. There's so many
There's
insect
a lot
species.
there.
A
Everywhere,
lot
everywhere
there.
there's new species.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd love to. I'll definitely be bringing my light set up when I come.
Yeah, there you
Well, it's
go.
interesting you say that because in my latest book, the Curious Kai Asks Why, she meets an entomologist called Matthew Connors in North Queensland, and Matthew's already named 2 new species. He's 30 years old. One thing that I learned from him and therefore made it into the book is that 2/3 of insect species in Australia have not been named.
There you go.
And that's just extraordinary because for kids, they just think, wow, I could actually go out in my back garden and find a brand new species. That's mind blowing, right? That's
And
wonderful.
they do. That's happening all the time.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff.
Mm.
So thank you so much, Jessica, for what you're doing. It's incredible. Your artwork is amazing. And I would so love to do some nature journaling with you. So maybe we can round up some of these people and come and do some nature journaling one day.
Definitely.
That'd be good. Is there any anything you'd like to tell us on how we can get one of your t-shirts or wearable art?
Just contacting me. I don't have a website or anything like that. This is just something I've done on the side, created
Well, I'll
mainly
share
for
that with
myself and
everybody.
friends. But
I'll share that with everyone, and I'm sure that it'd be nice if we all come nature journaling in your shirts. That would be very cool. We have one last question for you, and then I'm going to pass over for our special little section. So, do any other land care groups do insect breeding? Is a question from Paul.
Yes. So the other, it's really interesting because they decided to do the bioagent breeding through land care groups. So historically, I think most of the bioagents bred at least in Queensland, are done through land care groups. It's because there's no money in it. But recently, a business, Eco Insects, has just started up, and they have their sustainability wing. So they breed all the ones for agriculture, but they also now have started breeding some ones for the environment. And they kind of think of it as, oh, that's the good, that's us doing good and giving back. So I think, because it's not a very money maker. There's not as much money, unfortunately, for environment. The reason that we do get money for these beetles in our environment is that these weeds are big riparian weeds, which bring down canopy and cause erosion and affect water quality. So it's a water quality, therefore a water security issue. So we do get funding from the big sort of government organizations that are responsible for providing us with clean water.
Wow.
So there are several others. There's just a new one that just opened last month in the Pine Rivers area. The Pine Rivers Association have just opened one, and we're just always encouraging more land care groups to get in this space.
Well done. Thank you once again, Jessica, for being here. You're now part of this community, so I hope you'll come back every month and meet new people and make new connections. That'd be lovely. Now, we did introduce a couple of months ago, introduce a new little segment called Mara's Minutes, which was introduced by one of my recent interns. Now, Mara's Minutes is 3 minutes for one of you to tell us all the things you've been doing. We were going to pick on Peter, but Peter's not, audio is not working. So I'm going to pick on David to tell us all about what you've been doing in Africa. Have you got 3 minutes to spare, David? There you go. What do we got? What are we seeing?
Can I do 4 minutes, or is that illegal?
Oh yeah, go for it. We'll be all right.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience on Mother's Day. Okay. So thanks very much. And I was really honored to be on World of Wildlife a couple of months ago. It was a thrill presenting on our efforts. These are a couple of photos from our sort of family organized effort in Kenya. It's my daughter, Michaela's on the bottom left. She's a wildlife ecology student now living in Brisbane. We lived overseas for 10 or 15 years, and a lot of that time I've spent in Africa in humanitarian aid and conservation using drones. So we ran the Women in Conservation Forum and the Global Conservation Tech and Drone Forum all within the same week in Nairobi and Konza in Kenya. The bottom right is our family of 4, and then various photos. So I just talk about, some of the outreach really, and a little bit about the forum. We brought together conservation practitioners, students, researchers, government representatives, technologists, NGOs. Would love to have Jessica there and others from this group. And we're looking at how drones, AI, data systems, and conservation technologies have been used, and mainly focus on practical field-ready ways. That's the big thing here. It's about connecting the dots as well. And also alongside the main forum and the Women in Conservation Forum, we ran small outreach initiatives, one called Voices from the Sky, and that focused on conservation STEM education, storytelling and youth engagement. So we had over 800 people through the doors, which absolutely amazed me. I planned for 350. We planned for 150 or 100 for the women event. Michaela got 260 through the door there. Enormous outreach, enormous impact. And I was honoured we had the Australian High Commission from Kenya turn up. We had 100 rangers and groups from the Kenya Wildlife Society. We had, I think, 60 different conservancies from around Africa, and et cetera, et cetera. We ran the Youth Conservation Awards. We had $50,000 grant awards for a student competition, another student competition. So, a lot of crazy stuff that I just can't imagine how we even got it together, but we did it. I'll talk about the connection here with Dr. Sarah, Voices from the Sky. 2 connected goals: immediate outreach through my little nonprofit called Nature Drones. And it was a conservation STEM book booth at the forum that my wife Camilla pretty much ran the whole time. So, and thanks to Dr. Sarah and others who donated books and education material, we created a visible, accessible learning space. And that was for students and visitors, but mainly to bring in the next generation of conservationists. It really became this booth. Have I got a photo here? Maybe in the next slide I've got a photo of it. But the booth became a real place for conservation conversations around wildlife, drones, conservation tech, ecology, future events. We also had lots of schools come along. So schools from DIE, schools from low-income areas, and we asked for donations for anyone that took the book. So Curious Kai was running off the shelves. People were lining up to get it, and we asked them for donations, and they donated money. We raised $500 and we gave that to the Girls Foundation of Tanzania, who
brilliant.
we brought along. Yeah, it was incredible. By the way, I'll show you a photo of them in a second. Yeah, it was transformative, and we're really, really keen to continue this expansion of educational efforts. Dr. Sarah, thanks so much. You gave me a pre-recorded video. There's a photo at the top left of that in one of the rooms. Videos, we didn't use posters, printed posters. So there's a screen in the middle there with your poster on that. The girls on the bottom left there, the group from Tanzania, and with their leader, and their leader is a lady who's the best name I've ever heard, Esther Happy, on the bottom left. On the top right's Dylan, our son, running the Nature Drone stall. But one of the key lessons is that conservation technology alone is not enough. We really need to have more outreach. I just close on the other volunteer work I do there, and Dr. Wong, and you'll talk about about Sir David Attenborough. Certainly not trying to trump you by any means, and I've never met David. I say you're so lucky. But for the last 4 years, I've been a volunteer operations manager at the Old Pejeta Conservancy for the Wild Drone Project, which is a Marie Curie Foundation project. And I'm the operations manager for the hackathons because I was an air traffic controller for 35 years. So on the right-hand side is our 38 people at the hackathon. We're at Old Pejeta and Impala Conservancies. Old Pej is where the last 2 remaining northern white rhinos are, Najin and Fadu, and there's Sir David on the top left meeting them back in 2018. On the bottom left, I'm really proud of this, with the Kenyatta University, we got them to build drones, we got them to fly drones, and I ran a whole drone conservation flying event at Konza Technopolis, and that's the kids on the bottom left with their drones, flying the drones, and then we donated all the drones to them. So that's a long time. I stop now. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. Well done. Huge round of applause, David. It's so incredible to see how successful this event was. And, you know, that's a lot of people through the door. So well done. Well done for what you've done. I hope it continues for a long time to come. Well done.
No, thank you very much. And I spent a lot of the kids' inheritance, but that's life.
They don't need it. Thank you everybody for being here this month. We'll see you next month. It'll be earlier in the day. Sorry, Wong, it might be when you're asleep, but we'll see, because on the 10th of June, George and I fly to Sri Lanka. We'll be walking the Pico Trail in Sri Lanka, and we fly that day. So we're going to have to get World of Wildlife in before we actually go to the airport. So I'll give you some more details on that one by email. Watch out for that email, and I hope to see you all again. Don't forget, invite your friends. You know, let's make sure we grow this wildlife connection, because we can do way more together than we can separately. Thank you very much for being here.